Hey, I'm James with ArmchairWarlords.com. This is part 6 of our Pathfinder tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about feats, how to pick them, how to figure out how many you have, and how to ration them and plan for them over the course of your character's play. So the first thing you need to figure out is how many feats do you start off with. Well, in the vast majority of cases for most players this is going to be a single feat. So it's very important to pick the right one when you're first starting off, because leveling up in the beginning can be kind of slow, so you want to make sure that you've picked the feat that's most effective for your character. Also, from the very beginning, most players have in mind what they want their character to be as he levels up, what they want the end game of their character to look like. So it's also a good idea when selecting feats to make sure that you have a plan for how you want to ration those feats out over time. Because even though one of the improvements Pathfinder made over the D20 system was that they added more feats to each character, but even with that, they're still very slim. So most characters are going to end up with about 10 feats. Unless you're a fighter, fighters end up with about 20 feats. Humans get one additional feat, but either way, it's still a very small portion of the game that can be incredibly important, because feats can have a very powerful impact on your character. So you need to have a plan of which feats you want your character to take and know when to select those feats and in what order. So there are, as you can see from this table on page 114 of the book, tons of feats to choose from. There's no way we can go over all of them in a video. It would be just way too long to upload to the internet. So I'm just going to give you some basic understanding of the different feat categories. You have a bunch of general feats that can be applied to pretty much anything. There's a lot of feats that only give you such things as a bonus to your skills, and most of these occur in the form of a +2 bonus to a skill group, such as a +2 to acrobatics and stealth, or a +2 to diplomacy, or something along those lines, where you get a +2 to a skill group. A lot of other feats will give you pluses to your saving throws, and there's probably a third of the feats that are entirely situational, where you can apply a bonus but only in certain situations or only at certain times during the game. So when you're first building your character, you want to select your first feat as something that's going to make a difference for your character early on in the game. Most players will go through and pick something that's either going to give them a significant bonus in combat, or something that's going to give them a significant bonus in spellcasting if they're a spellcaster. As far as that goes, you've got a section that's all combat feats. These things will give you bonuses to attack and damage, or bonuses to certain types of attacks, or remove penalties for doing odd attacks, such as bull rushing someone or tripping them or trying to sunder their weapon. On the casting side, the meta magic feats, there's only a few that are useful early on in the game, because most of the feats will cause all of your spells to take up higher spell level slots, which means that you can't really use them very early. So most people who want to take a meta magic feat early in the game will take the heightened spell feat, because that makes all your spells one level higher than they should be your level. The item creation feats are something you'll want to avoid when you're first starting off, because there's only one that first level characters can take, and it's Scribe Scroll. And unless you're a wizard with access to a vast repertoire of spells, then it's not really going to be useful to you. But some of the other ones can get very powerful as you level up, such as being able to forge rings or craft wondrous items. These things can be extremely powerful, especially late game. So they're feats that you want to look at for later on in your character's progression as you're making your plan for what you want your character to be. So some of the feats have prerequisites. In fact, most of them have prerequisites. So you want to keep that in mind while you're making your plan, and make sure that all of your feats are added to your character in a way that you meet all the prerequisites before you select them, or before you even get to the level where you can select them. Planning a character around this feat build is something that a lot of players do, because they use the feats to build a character who's extremely powerful at one type of combat or at one aspect of the gameplay, and they use that idea to decide where to spend their skill ranks, for instance, what levels of what classes they want to take if they're multi-classing, to make sure that they meet all the prerequisites and build their character around the feats that they want to select as they progress. As you can see from the item creation, for instance, alone, feats can be extremely powerful in the game. There are some combinations of feats that you can take that will allow your character, instead of just swinging a sword once per round, to leap into the middle of a combat, swing his sword around in a big circle, and kill a bunch of guys all in a single round. that's the kind of power that Feats can have. So you want to make sure that you have a good plan laid out that maximizes your use of Feats in the game. Alright, so thanks for listening. I'm James Coker with Armchair Warlords.